Welcome to Tart Words. I'm your host, Linda Hengerer, and I'm a writer, a reader, and a baker. I talk to writers about their latest book and what inspires them, chat with fellow author Suzanne Fox about what writers can learn from reading their favorite authors, and share fast and easy recipes for anyone looking for a sweet treat. Join me as I share Tart Bites, Tart Thoughts, and Tart Words. Today I'm talking with Carrie Stuart Parks, who is an award-winning, internationally known forensic artist. She travels across the U.S. and Canada teaching courses in forensic art to law enforcement professionals including the FBI, Secret Service, and RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and is the largest instructor of forensic art in the world. Her best-selling novels in the mystery, suspense, thriller genre have garnered numerous awards, including several Carols and Inspys, the Christy, Golden Scroll, Kudos, Maxwell, and Wright. Her books have finaled in the Daphne du Maurier, Selah, and Cascade competitions. As a professional fine artist, she has written and illustrated best-selling art books for Northlight Publishers. To find out more information about Carrie and her books, visit www.carriestuartparks.com. Hi, Carrie. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Linda. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm really looking forward to talking to you today. I heard you first on, I think it was actually a Sisters in Crime webinar, and I was really interested in what you do and what you write about.
It was interesting because I had my airline tickets all ready to go to fly out to Virginia and do a full day presentation over there, and COVID hit. And so everything went on the back burner until we could figure out exactly how to handle these different presentations. But we finally got it done, so that was good.
Tell me about your latest book.
The latest book is called Relative Silence. Actually, the latest book is Women in Shadow, but it won't be out until July. So the one that's out now is Relative Silence. And like all of my books, it's a mystery suspense thriller that is involving forensic art and dogs. And Relative Silence actually takes place in the Charleston area of South Carolina, Mount Pleasant, and so on, though that's quite far from where I live, which is Idaho. But we're forensic artists, my husband and I, and we teach. So Mount Pleasant Police Department is one of the locations where we teach. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to place a story in South Carolina?
And I like the fact that you talk about a hurricane coming in, because I live on the Atlantic coast of Florida, and I am quite familiar with hurricane preps and what can happen during a hurricane. And a lot of it isn't good.
I actually had to, Rick has cousins in South Carolina. So when I was getting ready to write about the hurricane, since I've never experienced it, we don't have those in Idaho, I interviewed his cousins and said, okay, what is it like to live through a hurricane? And my husband is from Virginia, so he lived through, and I don't remember which hurricane it was, but he told me about that. But he was inland. He was in Woodbridge. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to put what it would feel like to be in a hurricane when you're on an island, where you can have a storm surge higher than your island. And I thought, well, now that's pretty exciting. That would make a pretty good antagonist as a whole hurricane. So they told me what it was like, yes, and the sounds and what they did and so on. And I was very appreciative of that.
Is this book part of a series, or do you write standalones?
The first 4 books I wrote were a series, and I was 40,000 words into the next book in the series, and my publishing house came back and said, okay, no more in this series. And I was like, what? No, you can't do this to me. No, I love this character. So I had to start all over, and they wanted me to just write standalones for a while. So the last 4 books have been standalones.
That's interesting. Generally with mysteries, a series is the way to go because readers really like the characters.
Well, that's what I thought, but they said no, they wanted standalones. So there is a link between 3 of the books in that the characters are all coming. This was the first one. The characters are all coming out a group called Clan Furin, which is Scottish for Family of Truth. What I did is I came up with an idea that there's a farm in eastern Washington that would take first responders and law enforcement people who had ruined their reputation or had PTSD or had very, very severe emotional problems because of their work. And this place is like a recovery. And so the characters in the next 3 books, starting with Relative Silence, are all from Clan Furin and are recovering from some event that had happened to them. So in Relative Silence, the male character is a forensic artist who destroyed his life and basically had to change everything in order to get back to life again. So he had gone through the treatment and was in South Carolina working on the Hunley, which is the first submarine that sank a boat in a wartime situation. And the war was a Civil War. So it was a Civil War submarine. So he was out working on that when he runs against my protagonist.
Yeah, I would not have thought about submarines being around during the Civil War. So that's really interesting in and of itself.
And I love to weave history, some kind of historical event through my stories to bring them not written from the time period. They're written in the present time. But in Relative Silence, I brought out the Hunley. The book before that was Fragments of Fear, where I touched on, that was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I touched on the Native American people as well as the lab that's down there. And the one before that touched on World War II and the Japanese invasion of the Aleutian Islands. So I try to get some historical context as well.
That's interesting. Is that because of your background as a forensic artist?
Well, I try to put forensic art or something similar to it in all of the books. Relative Silence, the fellow is a forensic artist. Forensic art defined as any art pertaining to law enforcement or legal proceedings. The book that will come out in July, it'll be a forensic linguist. And that's kind of relating to my work with signs of deception through language. So I thought, well, let's have a forensic linguist, which is different. But I usually weave that in there somehow because that allows me to use my own background and training in that field.
Interesting. Tell me a little bit about Piper Boone. She's the female protagonist in Relative Silence.
Her full name is Sandpiper Boone. I use templates of people. So she's a template, if you will, of the Kennedy family. Basically, she's the daughter of some very, very powerful and wealthy people that have a compound on what they call Curlew Island off the coast of South Carolina. Her older brother is a senator, and their wealth and their political pull is very significant. Piper, when she was first married, she had a daughter, a 4-year-old daughter, I think it was 4, that died in a boating accident, and she never really recovered from that. She ended up divorcing her husband. She moved away from home and tried to make a go of it in a publishing industry. Couldn't make a go of it, couldn't really get on with her life. Basically, her life just stopped with the loss of her daughter. So she decided to just go back and hide from the world on the family compound on Curlew Island. When the story opens, she is having lunch with a friend on an outdoor cafe when a gunman opens fire on her. And she's saved by the fellow who is the forensic artist, male love interest, if you will, that saves her life. So through this story, she finds out that the fellow is able to age progress faces. And she asks him to age progress the face of her daughter so she could see what her daughter would look like today. And that's one of the many things that forensic artists do. I've done a number of those. So he age progresses the photograph, and she becomes convinced she knows who this girl is, that her daughter didn't die, even though they found her body, they did DNA, she's buried. I mean, there's no doubt that they found her body, but she can't handle it. She does not believe them. She believes that her daughter is actually alive. So the story explores her feelings about that, her struggles to come to grip with what has happened, the people in her life that would keep her in the situation she's in now, her escapist actions, covers a lot of that type of thing. It's sort of a family saga in a way, though it only covers her, primarily her.
I did read the book, so it did seem to me that there were some similarities between Piper and Tucker, where they're both dealing with issues in their past and trying to move on with their lives. But certainly the shooting would not be a good way for someone with PTSD to move on with their life. To me, that would bring them right back to a fraught time in their life.
Right. With Tucker, he was a drunk. Well, he drank. That was his escape. And in his drinking, he is in a car accident where he loses his wife and unborn child. So he's living with the guilt of that. And he's also living with the terror of water because that was part of his PTSD. And of course, he's invited to go out to the island, which is surrounded by water. So that's a huge challenge that he has to overcome and face.
I really enjoyed the book, and I look forward to reading some of the other stories that are, I guess, loosely related by the clan Furan.
Yeah.
Farron?
Yes. Firinn. It's Gaelic.
I have Scottish ancestry myself, and I'm always interested in Celtic things and Gaelic things and some of the legends and lore that goes along with that.
Absolutely.
Do you have a writing routine or schedule?
I do. It's been badly tossed up because my laptop decided to give up the ghost. I've ordered a new one. My normal routine is to sit in the living room with my laptop and just write from the time I get up until roughly noonish or 1 o'clock. We're somewhere right in there. I have a word count that I try for. I'm having to use my desktop, and that's changed a whole lot because I'm sitting differently. I'm looking at a different angle. My husband said, "Oh my gosh," he said, "I feel like Rain Man. You're not sitting over there. You're not sitting over there." So my routine is very disturbed, but the new laptop will arrive in a week or so. So I'll get back to that. But I write unless I've got some event. I try to write every day for several hours.
Did your dying laptop trap your work in progress on it, or were you able to access that and keep working?
It took me a half a day to find it. I think that the operating system is fine, but the screen is now sort of an interesting plaid. So there's a big black bar that goes down through the middle, and then the whole lower part is little ripples. So if I can bring something up to the top right corner, I can see what it is. I spent a big part of the day trying to find the latest edition of the story. I usually say by the name and then the month, so March, April, and so on. It turned out that I had been saving the current work by an earlier name. So I thought, oh no, I've lost a week's worth of writing. I've lost thousands of words. Don't let it happen. But I found it. Now it's backed up all over the place. I mean, I had it backed up, but you don't think about backing up all the time. You think about doing it every couple of days. But then when you realize, if I lost it, I've lost that. Plus the notes, I have extensive notes. They were there as well. I was hoping I had the most current thoughts also on my notes. And I was able to find most everything. And when the new laptop comes in, I'll take it over and have everything transferred. So I'll be back to my routine.
That is a sick feeling to think that you have lost days worth of work. And it is such a relief when you find it, whether it's under a different name or you were able to access it a different way. But I have had a finger fumble and not days of work, but maybe an hour's worth of work and inadvertently got deleted and can't undo to get it back. It's like, I'm not even sure what combination of keys I hit to do that. But it's like, all right, well, what was I thinking? What did I write? How do I get it back? And it's never exactly the same.
Exactly. And oftentimes you spend time on one little passage. You just want to get it right. Got to flow better. And you work on it, and you work on it. You finally get it, oh, it's good. Okay, now it's working, and you move on. And then it's gone. And it's like, no, it took me how long to fix that mess? And
Do you outline?
I do. I actually teach a class at different writers' conferences called visual plotting. So I teach people who hate to plot how to do it using mind mapping or link analysis. Those are different names for the same thing. But I use a mind mapping to figure out where my character's going to go, the big points in the story. I use what clues do I need to give? When do I introduce a new character? What big events? And then from that, I go to the internet and download images, and I go from mind mapping to essentially storyboarding. So I storyboard it so that I see it. And I'm an artist, so I'm very, very visual. So I storyboard it. Then I have another kind of a running pages that I write notes, like what does the house look like they're in? I might download house plans. I might have to do day by day. What are they doing on this day? What are they doing on this day? I might have to figure out when, a lot of things I do is figure out when people were born, how old they are, the relationships. And I use a program by James Scott Bell, who has written a number of, well, he's an author himself, but he's also written a number of nonfiction books, like Write Your Novel from the Middle. But he has a program called Knockout Novel, and it helps me to focus on the different characters. Even though that may not appear in the book, I still know all about them. So I use a combination. So by the time I type things out, it is outlined, I figured it out, but it's still open to a lot of surprises. Like you're typing along and all of a sudden you go, oh gosh, look at there, look what they just did. So it leaves that open, which the pantsers really like to have.
Yes. You're also a fine artist, aren't you, as well as a forensic artist?
I am. My gallery closed down just before COVID. When I say my gallery, the gallery that represented me. But I wrote 5 books on drawing in watercolor for Northlight Publishers, of which some of them are still in print. Actually, one of them is still a bestseller. And then I taught art, but I was a watercolorist and sold paintings to corporate and private collections, large watercolor paintings to places like the Halekulana Waikiki, the Kailua Hilton, Coeur d'Alene Resort, a variety of different places like that.
Do you find that painting is an outlet for writing? Do you write in the morning and paint in the afternoon, or are they separate things?
They're both creative. So from that standpoint, either one will provide me with creativity. Currently, because as I know you will know about this, I am working under a deadline. So the painting's taking a back step or a back seat right now until I hit my deadline. But I do have some events coming up where I've got to produce some artwork, so I'll start working on that. And then I have a group of ladies that get together every year. They call it Art Camp. And so I'll need to come up with at least 5 or 6 projects for them. So I'll need to be doing 5 or 6 paintings and working out the steps for them as well. When I was actively painting, I was producing between 150 and 250 watercolor paintings a year, considerably less prolific now.
That sounds like it's 3 a week, 3 to 5 a week?
Yeah, I was very prolific, and that can get you a pretty good case of burnout when you're producing. You have to have 30 new paintings because you have a show coming up, or 30 or 40 new paintings because you'll be doing some kind of exhibit or gallery opening or whatever you're going to be doing.
When is your next book coming out?
Woman in Shadow comes out July 12th. It's currently with the publisher.
Will a link to that be on your website?
A link to all the places you can get the books are on my website now.
I'll have the links to your website and to Relative Silence in the show notes for the podcast episode. I look forward to reading your next book. Thanks for coming on the podcast today, Carrie. I've enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you so much, Linda. You are just such a gracious person. I so appreciate this time.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you for joining me this week. To view the complete show notes and the links mentioned in today's episode, visit tartwords.com/tart119. Before you go, follow or subscribe for free to the podcast to receive new episodes when they're released. Follow now in the app you're using to listen to this podcast, or sign up for email alerts through an easy sign-up form for bakers, readers, and or writers at tartwords.com/about. Thank you again for joining me, Linda Hengerer, for this episode of Tart Words.